Good evening and welcome. This is a meeting of the Special Education Advisory Committee of the Halton District School Board for Wednesday, June 4th, 2025. First, we'll start with a roll call to record who is in attendance. Please answer yes or present. We have regret. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I can do it. Do you want to do it, Carol, or do you want me to?
Go ahead, Katie. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. We have regrets from Kate Lombacher from the Association of Bright Children. Amanda Winch, Autism Ontario.
Here.
Jennifer Laguerre, Autism Ontario.
Present.
We have regrets from Yelena King from the Center for Diverse Learners. Sierra Kernick from Community Living Burlington. Okay, Melissa Dockeray, Easter Seal Society.
Here. Present.
Sophia Siddiqui, Halton Down Syndrome Association. Aaron Spruill, Voice.
Present.
Kaisa Klassen, Member at Large. Katie Schleifer, myself, present. Trustee Ahmed. Trustee Baxter.
Good evening.
Trustee Oliver. Trustee Zhang. Superintendent Ruddock.
Here.
Principal Spruin.
Present.
And we have Kevin from Communications. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. We will begin the meeting by honoring the land. We begin by acknowledging the land and our responsibility to care for and respect all that provides us with life. This land upon which the HDSB is situated is on the ancestral treaty and tidal lands of the Anishinaabeg, Ojibwe, Michizagig Nation, now known as the Mississaugas of the Credit. Michizagig territory in the past and present continues to host both Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. The HDSB is committed to continuous knowledge building with respect to actions that address and resolve the ongoing impacts of colonialism. We do this by learning and understanding the true history, treaty obligations, duties, and responsibilities, and Indigenous rights, while actively maintaining mutually beneficial relationships and collectively respecting and caring for the land. We'll now move on to approving the agenda for tonight's meeting. Would anyone like to approve the agenda? By a show of hands. Thank you. I think we have, was that you, Katie? And seconded by Sierra?
It was. Yeah, perfect.
Thank you. Are there any modifications or amendments that need to be made to the agenda? Are there any, seeing none, is there any opposition to the agenda as it now stands? If you oppose the agenda, please indicate that now. None being seen, the agenda is approved unanimously. Next is approval of our May 21st, 2025 meeting minutes. Are there any errors or omissions that anyone would like to raise? Okay, seeing none, would anyone like to move a motion to approve the minutes? Thank you, Aaron. Moved by Aaron and seconded by Melissa. Thank you. Okay, is there any opposition to the minutes as recorded? Please indicate that now. None being seen, the May 21st, 2025 meeting minutes are approved unanimously. Thank you. So we'll now move on to the first item for the evening, which is our 2025-2026 budget presentation. We are joined this evening by Superintendent of Business Services and Board Treasurer Roxana Ngoy. I think, do we have Roxana? Great. Who will take us through some information and an update on the board budget process for the 25-26 school year. Thank you so much and welcome, Superintendent Ngoy.
Good evening, and thank you for having me this evening. And with me also online is Jay Chantavong, our General Manager and Controller of Financial Services. And the two of us will tag team a little bit and walk you through a few slides to give you a preliminary, preliminary information and numbers as it relates to the 2025-2026 budget year. So I'm just going to share my screen. 1 second. All right. So just for tonight's presentation, we wanted to give you a quick update in terms of the timelines for the budget, and some of those timelines have been updated in light of the delayed funding release date. We're going to look provincially as well as from a board perspective what that education funding release means for our board, and we'll take a little bit of a deeper dive into the enrollment revenues and expenses, in particular how they relate to special education, and then just what are the next steps to approving the budget for next year. So from a perspective of timelines, some of the dates have been updated on the slide from what we had communicated previously. We are currently looking at having some discussion with the board next week at the Committee of the Whole on June 11th with a preliminary view of the draft budget, with a draft budget report at the June 17th meeting and a special board meeting on June 20th to approve the budget. There is a backup date if needed to extend that timeline to July 7th or 8th for budget approval. So tentatively June 20th for now, but it could go as late as the beginning of July. Our public website, I should mention, under financial budget and financial information, does contain all the reports that have been and presentations that have been provided to the Board of Trustees to date. So as we pass some of those timelines, we do update that website with all the information so that everyone can follow along. So we started the budget process with a cautious approach to balancing the budget. For the current year, we have an approved deficit of $1.8 million, which we're required to eliminate by regulation. And if we cannot eliminate and we still have a deficit next year, we require both board approval as well as ministers' approval. And we have to have a plan of up to 2 years to eliminate that budget as well. So in advance of receiving the funding and having a better understanding of what our enrollment will look like for next year, we started by looking at the current allocations, reallocating them to system priorities, making sure we looked for efficiencies and cost savings through all of our budgets, transportation efficiencies, and just making sure that there's no duplication, and we do everything we can to maximize the funding that we currently have, knowing that we may have to look at some reductions to balance the budget. That, however, may not be sufficient to balance the budget given the enrollment decline that the board is facing. So from a provincial update, the core education funding was released on May 23rd, so a little bit late in the game. We typically would receive it in the past at the end of March, beginning of April. So it's a little bit late as a result of the provincial elections earlier this year. But what we do know from the core education funding release is that there is an increase in the overall budget, about $732 million for the province year over year. And that addresses the centrally negotiated increases to compensation, as well as some inflation pressures with the 2% increase to the non-staffing component or the operational component within the school operations allocation. There is additional funding for student transportation, for temporary accommodations, which looks at our portables. So there is a little bit of good news in the funding formula, but a lot of the things remain the same. So there's still some challenges with the funding formula, namely, there's no changes in supply cost funding, which is one of the main areas of underfunding for our boards, as well as the mandatory federally imposed enhancement to CPP costs. Again, they haven't been funded through the funding formula, and that as well is a significant pressure for our budget. Other resources have not kept up with inflation. So while the school operations allocation is receiving an increase year over year, the learning resources technology that are within the classroom and the learning resource fund allocation have not increased since 2008. So with that in mind, and looking at the significant increases that we have in terms of absenteeism costs or supply staffing costs, and the increases to benefits, the statutory benefits for enhanced CPP contributions that are not funded, we are expecting that this budget will be a deficit budget within the compliance limits, but a deficit budget once again. We don't have final numbers. We haven't shared those with the board yet, as we're still putting everything through and having to review all of our information before we can present that next week at the board, the committee of the whole. We do have an enrollment decline in both panels, which I'll show you in a slide in a minute, and that certainly contributes to a funding reduction, as enrollment is one of the biggest factors that the core education funding is based on. So with that in mind, if we have a deficit budget for next year, we do have to have a plan in place to reduce it by 2026, 2027. So we'll go through a few of the slides in terms of enrollment, overall revenues and expenses for the board, and then we'll take a look at the end at the special education revenues, expenses, and the enveloping. As I mentioned earlier, we do have an enrollment decline in both panels, so we expect about 959 students less year over year. This certainly would be the second year of enrollment decline, and we expect to be in a declining enrollment position next year, the following year as well, so the 26-27 year, with enrollment stabilizing in 2028. So certainly it is a significant decline in enrollment, and that has a big impact on our funding and ability to resource our programs and our system overall. So the revenue is a total of $990 million for next year, which includes some out-of-compliance revenues for the purchase of land, which is through education development charges. So that's around $27 million. So that just gets moved out of compliance when we look at just the operating portion of our revenues and expenses, which is what the ministry is requiring us to balance from a compliance perspective. So most of that funding, I'm just going to go to the next slide, just explains a little bit better the different percentages and details behind that pie chart. Most of the funding is from the province of Ontario through core education funding. So that's about 88% of our funding. That is based on a formula that has certain allocations. So it is based on enrollment, socioeconomic and demographic factors, so census data. There are, how many facilities we have, the square footage, the condition of facilities. There's a lot of different factors that are put together to determine what that total funding will be for our board. A portion of that is funded through municipal education levies, and the balance comes from the province to that calculated amount. The other provincial grants that are timed in nature, so they're only provided 1 year at a time, are called Responsive Education Program Fund. So that's a new name for that particular funding, and they represent about just under 1% of our total funding. Those would be things that we cannot commit long-term, so they would be always assessed on an annual basis, whether or not they are going to continue. School-generated funds, which are maintained at the school level, are approximately 2% of our revenues. And other revenues include like federal government funding for language instruction for adult learners, for example, investment income, international student tuition fees, rental income, and as I mentioned before, the out-of-compliance portion for the education development charges, or the revenue source that allows us to purchase school sites in areas of growth. And yes, I've mentioned we're in a declining enrollment situation, but we do still have areas of growth in North Oakville and South Milton. It's just the entry-level grades are much lower than our graduating grades, and we do have aging neighborhoods that just outpace the growth in some of the other areas. From an expense perspective, our total operating expenses are $971 million. Most of that is spent directly on instruction and in the classroom. So I will go to the next slide that provides a bit more of a detail or breakdown of the expenses under all those categories. And these are ministry categories. We're required to report them in this manner. So instruction is that, direct cost of the classroom teachers and the school overall staff. Student transportation is an indirect cost to providing instruction. Pupil accommodation refers to the school maintenance and operations, the school sites, as well as the renewal work for the school buildings. Other expenses are generally looking at those one-time, the expense side of those one-time responsive education programs, school-generated funds, and other debt provisions. So that leaves administration. That's 2.3% of our total budget, and that includes overall the corporate functions, as I mentioned over here, as well as software licensing, legal costs for the entire school board. So it's not just for the corporate function. So there's a lot included in that 2.3%. So expenses year over year have increased about 18 million from the current year to the next, and that is mainly as a result of salary and benefit increases and increase in supply costing, as well as the WSIB claims. We do have a continued investment and increases when it comes to technology, licensing, contractual obligations that we have to increase our costs based on what we have signed in terms of those contractual agreements. And then we do a trend analysis on utilities, cleaning costs, and maintenance of schools. So all of those have seen some increases year over year. And I think with that, I will pass it on to Jay to walk you through the slides that outline the special education funding and expenses for next year.
Thank you, Roxana, and good evening, everybody. So, I'll be walking through the Special Education Fund as well as the preliminary or draft spec ed budget at this point. I just mentioned that it's currently still under review, so it's not final, and it is subject to change. So to start off, we'll go through the Special Education Fund. So it's made up of these four main components here: the Special Education Fund per pupil allocation, the differentiated needs allocation, complex sports allocation, and specialized equipment allocation. So within each of these components, there's formulas of sub-allocations within them, and they all are enveloped and can only be used for special education expenses, and any unused amounts have to be treated as deferred revenue, which isn't typically the case for us. So year over year, at this point, we're looking at an additional $1 million more in special education fund compared to the current year, mainly as a result of benchmark increases and higher self-contained enrollment. So the next slide just details out some of the other core education funding allocations that also support special education. So some of these are moved into the envelope, which you'll see in a few slides. So they support the special education expenses. So we bring them in to include them with the special education fund. So the next slide will show a table of our preliminary special education allocations for next year compared to the current year. So as you can see here, it's higher year over year by a little over 900,000. Mainly as a result of benchmark increases for compensation. However, with declining enrollment, it is offset a bit, so we don't get as much as we would otherwise. Now, this increase in funding comes with offsetting cost commitments, of course, compensation being the biggest one, as well as any non-staffing expenses. So the next slide is our draft expenses at this time. So the total being 149.6 million compared to 145 for the current year. So that's an increase of 4.5 million year over year. And again, mostly this is related to compensation or increases in salaries and statutory benefits, as well as increase in supply staff costs. And as Roxanne mentioned earlier, WSIB costs is something that we're seeing has a large increase year over year for next year. So moving on to the next slide, we'll summarize essentially the revenues versus the expenses, which will get us to our preliminary deficit position. So at this time, we have an $11.1 million deficit in the spec ed envelope compared to the current year's 7.5 deficit. Again, the main reason being the increases on the expense side, of course, and the funding side not keeping up with it. The next slide, and I believe the last one for me tonight, is just a summary of our special education and student well-being FTEs sorted by employee type. So overall, it's a net change of 14 FTEs, the vast majority being temporary staff for the current year that are at this time reduced for next year at this time. So I think I do have one more slide, which just kind of wraps it all up. So for the current year, as mentioned, we have a $7.5 million deficit for the spec ed envelope, and at this time we have $11.1 million deficit projected for next year, with the main reasons being listed here for the change of 3.6 million. We had some one-time deferred revenue usage in the current year of $0.7 million, which we won't have for next year. It's a one-year thing. And again, on the expense side of things, all the increases in silent benefits, supply costs, WSIB, and so forth. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions. Roxanne and I.
Thank you, Jay. And the one thing I would mention in terms of the special education, we have not made any suggested large changes as a result of less funding for next year. So I just wanted to mention that there are some temporary staffing that are just at this point not in the base of the budget. These numbers are preliminary. I just wanted to reiterate that because there are changes to these numbers even as we speak. So for next week when we present to the board, they're not significant changes, but I just keep that in mind. These were a point in time, less than 2 weeks, for us to go through a lot of the information to try to determine a position so that we are able to present you a little bit with where we are right now and what we would be proposing for special education in the budget. And yes, happy to take any questions. I'm not sure if Superintendent Ruddock has anything else she would like to add, but that's all from us. I think the next slide is just outlining the next dates coming up.
Thank you very much for that detailed presentation, given the short timeline that you had. and the late release of the funding announcement from the province. I just had one quick sort of housekeeping question. Would it be possible for committee members to have a copy of the slides at some point? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Thank you. I just noticed on a couple of slides it was said repeatedly that there's an increase in WSIB and supply costs. Is there a reason? And what is being done to address that reason?
Thank you, and that's a great question. So for WSIB costs, those are provided to us by the actuary. So it really depends on every year where we are in terms of the actual claims and what those actual claim costs. So those we really don't have a great way to forecast other than our actuary provides us with an estimate and then an actual amount later in the year. It is, I will say, province-wide, and it's not something that is funded. So it's funded through a percentage benchmark for benefits overall, but that hasn't changed. And in practice, in the education sector, over the last few years, those costs have increased significantly. Especially since the pandemic and post-pandemic implications. So that's one of them. The supply costs, similar to that, the funding formula remains from before the time that provincially the central table, they negotiated a different sick leave plan for the sector. Again, a provincial pressure. The absenteeism rate has increased throughout the year since COVID. There could be many reasons. There were more. One, it could have been protocols in the prior years in terms of expectation for staff and not passing on viruses and things like that. There was, with the immunity being lower and going back to in person, we've seen a lot more sickness in the community, not just within our schools. It could be mental health. It could be different things that have resulted in an increased absenteeism overall. And again, that is a provincial trend. The funding formula, however, has not changed. So it is becoming a challenge to keep up. We do have an attendance support program. We were one of the few boards that had one from the very beginning when the new sick leave plan was approved centrally. So we are monitoring and doing everything we can to support our staff to return to work. It is, however, there's two sides to it. One is the program that you have, and one is the funding that you receive based on the terms of the program that are not within our control.
Okay, follow up. Then thank you for that. That was great. But WSIB increasing, those are for workplace injuries. So what's being done to lessen those injuries so that way the supply costs and the increased WSIB isn't even an issue? Like, are people, tripping in parking lots? Are they, falling down slippery steps? Like, what is happening that is increasing?
I would have to say I don't have the data on what has increased, which categories. Certainly slip and falls and concussions and things like that. I do know the one area that was included in WSIB a couple of years ago was mental health related. So that was a new category altogether, and it did contribute to an increase in claims. We do have a team that is overseeing this area. I don't, unfortunately, have the details. So unless Superintendent Ruddock has a comment, it would be something that I would have to take away to provide more information.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll just add to that, Roxana. I mean, I think, Jennifer, that's a very good question. It is something that our Human Resources Department is looking at in terms of the analysis of reasons behind absenteeism, and as part of the attendance management program, looking at strategies to mitigate and address some of those absences. So it is something that's being looked at, but it's through human resources.
Thank you. Do we have?
Thank you.
Sorry, thank you, Jennifer. Are there any other questions for Roxana and Jay about the budget? Okay, seeing none, thank you to you both for joining us this evening. We appreciate the information and certainly look forward to seeing the process unfold. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll move now to our 2025-2026 Special Education Plan, the vote for from SEAC, I should say. At our last meeting, we had a presentation and a great discussion about the Special Education Plan. And this evening, we have an opportunity for each association to vote in support of or in opposition to the plan. So we'll just ask, I'm just going to pull up our roll call. I don't know if maybe Laura, I think you're online with us, and Katie, so ask for your support in making sure that we get everything recorded. So we'll go through the associations and ask for your vote on the plan. Unless there's any questions or concerns before we get started, please go ahead and raise your hand if anything. Oh, okay, seeing none. So we'll move into the process of voting. Okay, so the Association for Bright Children, unfortunately, we don't have a representative with us this evening. So we'll move to Autism Ontario. I think, Amanda, we have you with us this evening. Did we have Amanda, Katie? Yes, I see Amanda.
She is here,
I
but
think we have
she's
both.
also, oh, sorry. There you are, Amanda.
Hi. Oh, sorry. Do we have both? Oh, great. Amanda
Yeah,
and Jennifer, you're both here?
Jennifer joins late, a little bit late.
Fantastic. Welcome. So if I could ask the vote for Autism Ontario for or against the plan, please.
We're for it.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Yelena is not able to join us from the Center for Diverse Learners. Unfortunately, the way that the regulation is written is members do have to be present, either virtually or in person, to vote. So we will not be able to record a vote from the Center for Diverse Learners, but she did send along a message to indicate that they do support the plan. So thank you so much for that, Yelena. We'll move now to Community Living Burlington. Sierra, I think we have you with us this evening. Would you vote in support or no to the special education plan for next year?
Vote in support.
Great, thank you very much. Moving on to the Easter Seal Society, Melissa, do you vote in favor or against?
Yep, I vote in favor.
Thank you very much. Sophia from the Halton Down Syndrome Association, welcome. Do you vote in favor or against the special education plan?
Hi, in favor. Thanks.
Thank you so much. It's nice to see you this evening. Virtually, of course. And moving on to the to Voice. Erin, do you vote for or against the plan this evening?
Voice is in favor.
Thank you so much. And we'll move into our members at large. Kaisa Klassen. Did we lose Kaisa? Oh, there we are. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Voting, Kaisa has indicated she's voting in favor. Thank you. Katie?
I'm voting in favor as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have regrets from Tara, but she also indicated support for the plan. Do trustees vote? We do. Okay. So in attendance, we have Trustee Zhang. Do you vote in favor or against the plan this evening?
I'm voting in favor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I don't believe we have Trustee Ahmed with us this evening. He did not sign in. Okay, thank you. So I also vote in favor. Thank you very much. Have I missed anyone? Does that look okay? Yes, I mentioned that. The Association for Bright Children. Oh, did they? I'm sorry. They do. Okay. Yes. So sorry. So we did get a message from the Association for Bright Children, and Kate Lambecker was not able to be with us, but they have sent an indication that they do support. So thank you very much. So that is a unanimous vote in support of the special education plan for 2025-2026. Thank you so much to Superintendent Ruddick, Principal Spruan, and all the special education staff for all the great work that you do, and for being so responsive and receptive to the suggestions and recommendations and questions from our discussion.
And thank you. I certainly appreciate the work and input of everybody, and recognizing last year the difficult conversations and decisions that we had to make that formed the plan that we put forward to you last year. And we're very appreciative that this year was certainly an easier process for us. But I really appreciate all of your votes in support of the plan. Greatly appreciate it.
So in terms of next step, the special education plan will come to the Board of Trustees for approval later this month, or as Superintendent Ngoy explained, it could be in July. So that vote will come once the budget has come to the board and been approved. And of course, the Board of Trustees will take this committee's unanimous support for the plan into account in informing approval of the plan. So we'll move now to item 2.3, which is to vote on the proposed meeting dates. At the last meeting, we had a table of proposed SEAC meeting dates for the next school year. They were circulated with last month's agenda as well as tonight's agenda. We did have a brief discussion at the last meeting with an invitation to any committee members who had concerns about those dates to direct them by email to Laura, and none were received. So we would like to go ahead this evening to proceed with a vote to formally accept those proposed dates. And just as a reminder, that table of the list of meeting dates is attached to the email that you received with the agenda for this evening. So I think we can probably do it by a show of hands, if that's okay. So could we see by a show of hands virtually if you vote in favor of accepting the proposed meeting dates for the next school year? Please go ahead now and show all votes in favor. I think I see everyone. I think we're only missing. Okay, thank you so much. Amanda, did you want to vote against the dates?
No, she's voting. Sorry, we only had one vote.
Oh, for the association. Sorry, I apologize.
Sorry.
For that. Okay, thank you very much.
No, we're good.
Okay, great. So that's a unanimous vote in favor of the proposed dates for our meetings next school year. Thank you very much, everyone. So we'll move now to item 3.0, which is the SEAC discussion and question period. If anyone has any specific questions or topics that they'd like to raise, please raise your hand, and we can have a discussion. We have a couple of hands up. I don't know if those are from the vote. Aaron. Yep. Okay. Everyone disappeared. Okay, so seeing no hands raised, we'll move on to item 4.0, which is communications to SEAC, and start with our superintendent's report. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Just a couple of things hot off the press. When the ministry released the grants for our funding, they included a rep for summer learning, or supporting summer learning. So this year they have provided special education $220,000. It's a little different than past years. This year it has two ways we are allowed to spend it. We can support through hiring of educational assistants and paraprofessionals to our summer learning programs that are being offered through the school programs department and through Gary Allen. So that's learning from from grade 2 through to grade 12. Or we can use it for summer transitions in August. So we are looking to support our various sites across the region with 8 educational assistants for in-person learning. and then committing to transitions, $140,000 that will provide opportunities to pay for staff to come in August for students who would benefit from additional transition support or case conferences with families or other planning meetings to prepare for students with special education needs arriving in September. So we're very appreciative of those funds. It's always very well received by our schools to be able to bring staff in those final weeks of August to really prepare for our students' arrival on that first day. And lastly, I just want to say thank you to all of you for another year of your service on SEAC. I certainly recognize that this work is done out of the generosity of your time and the passion that you have for our students with special education needs. So just my gratitude to all of you, and I so appreciated having you here in person to see you last month, and look forward to continue to work with you in the next year.
Thank you so much. We'll move now. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sophia.
Sorry, just a quick question. First of all, thank you as well. You guys put in so much time, answer our questions, and are patient with us. So we appreciate all that you've done also in the year. I just did have a quick question. As you mentioned, the EAs, that's wonderful to hear for summer programming. I haven't heard about summer programming. Would this be open to students with exceptionalities as well? Or perhaps I missed that. I wasn't at the last meeting.
Thank you. So it is certainly open to students with exceptionalities. They are credit-bearing course offerings in secondary. So I know we've had conversations around secondary. So if that's a part of the a focus of the question, it is credit-bearing offerings in secondary, but elementary is open more broadly to all students.
Okay, wonderful. I can take that back to our families. I know in the past we have discussed, year after year that, our kiddos probably face the largest amount of loss of learning over the summer. And if ever there was an opportunity for them to be able to have those opportunities to come in the summertime for some sort of summer learning, that would be amazing. I know there used to be the ATRT summer learning opportunities, but I haven't heard of those either. And a few families have asked me about that. And, I haven't heard. I'm not sure if that's being offered again.
A great question and a good memory. So we did use summer learning dollars for the last number of years to run really specialized programs, including that assistive technology camp that we would call it. We would pay for it out of this grant that the ministry provides for us. The parameters of the grant have changed this year, so it doesn't allow us the opportunity to hire teachers to deliver programming, only support staff to support programming that's being offered through school programs and our Gary Allen or our continuing education center. So we're a little bit more limited in what we can offer this year. Even if it was more open, I have to say that with the funds coming this late, it would be very difficult for us to operationalize those programs. We would typically get the grant when the overall grants are released in April, and it would take us from April through to June to plan for those courses or for those offerings. So even with the time constraint, it wouldn't have been possible, but also within the changes in the parameters, it's not permissible.
For sure. No, that makes sense because I didn't hear anything. So I imagine then the online summer opportunities that were there last year, that's not being offered this year either, right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. If there are no other questions for Superintendent Ruddick, we'll move into association reports. Are there any associations that wanted to share anything this evening?
Oh, Katie, if you're talking, I think you're muted.
I was talking, but I was also too early. So go ahead, Sophia.
No worries. Katie, go ahead.
No, I'm not part of an association. I'm just very tired, and I was going to do the committee report, but we're at association, so go right ahead.
Okay, no problem. This will be quick. Just wanted to share that the Halton Down Syndrome Association is hosting their annual walk It's a huge event that takes place in Milton this coming Saturday. It's very exciting if you're in the area. It would be amazing if you drop by. It's our largest fundraiser of the year, and it's at the Milton Fairgrounds all afternoon on Saturday. So lots of fun. If you're in the area again, drop by. Just wanted to share. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sophia. I think you're getting good weather this weekend too. So it should be a great event. Are there any other associations? Oh, yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
Hi, thank you. We just wanted to say that Voice is having its annual, fall camp or family camp again, and it's the weekend after Labor Day. Not so useful for the other associations, but for the special education staff, if you're talking to your any of our deaf and hard of hearing students over the rest of June, you can tell them to look at our website. There's information, but they're just, we're not going to be able to do any marketing through the schools because it's right when schools begin. So it's our kind of marquee event. All the families and kids get together. It's really a wonderful weekend for everyone. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Aaron. Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands, so we will move on to the trustees' report. I'll invite Trustee Zhang.
Hi, everyone. At first, I'd like to share the information from the PIC. HDSD Parent Involvement Committee changed the schedule this year. The next conference is scheduled for this November. HDSB parents will receive an invite in the new school year. Just a couple of weeks ago, Toronto hosted its annual Doors Open event for everyone to visit, learn our history and a diverse culture. Burlington has a Doors Open event too. It is a great opportunity to visit the participating sites and learn more about our local community and history. The Burlington Doors Open event is scheduled for August 9th. As I noticed, some information about a dangerous challenge is spread through social network lots of children are using. Halton Police Service has posted more details about online challenges that could be very dangerous. So the children will be impacted. So parents need to pay more attention about the children's online activities. The last thing is now we are very close to the end of the school year. Thank you, everyone, all the committee members for your dedication and contributions through the year. We wish everyone has amazing school summertime. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Trustee Zhang. We'll move now to committee reports. If there's no questions for Trustee Zhang, no, okay. So we'll move on to committee reports, starting with the Accessibility and Coordinating Committee. Go ahead, Katie.
Thank you. So I guess it was a few weeks ago. I can't remember the actual date, but we had an in-person meeting at Cedar Ridge Public School, and VP Farrell Barngarter did a presentation talking about all the feedback that she gathered from educators, including EAs and teachers, in the special education space, and how they've been able to implement a lot of that feedback into the design of the school. The architect of the school, which is the newest school in Halton, was there with us, and we were able to tour this school as a group, and it was really great to see how special education and the needs of our students were very thoughtfully incorporated into the design, and we were able to discuss kind of opportunities for further design improvements moving forward, or things that maybe they hadn't thought about. One of the things specifically that I thought was really great as they design new schools in our board is that all of them are designed with spaces for community pathways programs. So they're not going back and retrofitting the schools after the fact. So even if there isn't or there aren't those classes in the schools right now, they are available. Those spaces are available should the need arise for that school. So I thought that was really exciting. I really enjoyed it. I know Trustee Baxter was there as well. I don't know if she wants to add anything, but overall it was really wonderful to be able to see the space in person. I don't know, it's always great to see it in person and to kind of experience it as someone who sits on SEAC.
Thank you so much, Katie. So I've served on that committee as a trustee for a couple of years now, and I have to say it's one of my favorites. It's a entirely staff-led and staff populated committee, aside from our SEAC rep now, Katie, and myself as trustee. And it's a great representation, I find, of how staff really work together across departments to support students. We've had a couple of opportunities to have in-person meetings at schools, and it's always a great opportunity to hear how schools have either been retrofitted if they're older, or as Katie's described, designed when they're new, with the with the central purpose of ensuring that all students are included and that the needs of all students are met. And it really is amazing how all the different departments, from spec ed and facilities and library services and human resources, and everybody comes together in that one space and talks about how to best serve students. Students really are the center of all decisions and discussions. So it's a great space to have the privilege to be in, and I'm so happy that Katie's able to join that as well. And I did note that during the meeting, Katie had a lot of great feedback to provide. So I think having a SEAC member and parent on that committee is a great asset to the committee as well. So super grateful that you're able to join. Thank you so much, Katie.
Thanks, Carol.
If there are no questions or comments, we'll move on. So we have the other committee that we have representation on is the Mental Health and Wellbeing Strategy Steering and Advisory Committee. That's a mouthful, which is Kate Lembacher, who's not here with us this evening, but I think she indicated in the last meeting that that committee is fairly wrapped up in the work that they were doing currently. So I don't think she would have had a report regardless. So we'll move on to item 5.0. Are there any items that committee members would like added to an upcoming agenda next year? If there's anything that anyone's like to raise, please do so. Otherwise, standing invitation to send a message to, go ahead, Sierra.
As we discussed at the in-person meeting just the other week, I would be happy to do a presentation on Community Living Burlington and my Next Step Connect program for transition supports for families who are going to be graduating high school. I could do that like September or October. I'm happy to do.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sierra. Yes, I think we have a note that that you are committed for the next year. I think we'll let Laura reach out directly to coordinate the timing on that and the logistics. Thank you so much. So I'm not seeing any other hands. As always, please feel free to reach out to myself and or Laura with any comments, suggestions, anything that you think of. Trustees we work throughout the summer, so if you think of anything that you think SEAC should talk about in the next school year starting in September, please do reach out. So that takes us to item 6, which is adjournment. We've exhausted our agenda for the evening, and this, as we've said, is the last meeting of the school year. I'd like to echo other comments to thank everyone on this committee for your dedication to SEAC and to the students of the HDSB. On behalf of Vice Chair Katie Schleifer and myself, best wishes for a restful and restorative summer break, and we'll look forward to seeing everyone at our next scheduled meeting, which is September 17th at the usual time of 7 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Have a